please take it away, Dirk.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you for having me here for this. So I'm going to be showing you a little bit about the dashboard that OpenUp has built with SANEF. I'm just going to share my screen here. All right, we should be seeing the election dashboard up here. Now, to find the election dashboard, I would say the first thing, navigating from the SANEF website, you can see it up here with the election dashboard, and then you can just go to the view dashboard, and you will find it over here once it loads. Now, one thing I would first, you would of course see the map, and we've got our tools here on the side. We've got the data mapper, the point mapper, and the rich data. Before we get into those, I just quickly want to also point out here a new feature that we've added recently is the ability to switch demarcation, to switch boundaries. So currently it's defaulting to the 2021 election boundaries and so on, but it can also go to 2016. So for instance, if we want to maybe just quickly find one here, if I go to the Free State and we go in here to the Tswelopele municipality, which is here, Tswelopele municipality, and we can now see, so it will show the wards to us here. So this is the 2021 demarcations, but if we switch to 2016, and it will always give us a little prompt here to say that we are switching boundaries, and we'll say proceed, we can actually see here that in 2021, there's an entirely new ward that's been added. So if I switch back to 2021, proceed, we can see that this is a whole new, this has been split into a new ward. And by the size of it, it seems like that might have been a good idea. So we can do that. So that is something to just bear in mind, that the boundaries have changed from place to place. And you will be prompted when you're viewing an all data set for 2016. If you're viewing the 2021 boundaries, you will be prompted to change the boundaries as well. Let's quickly have a look further at the tool itself. So of course, if we go back to the country here, the data mapper that we see here shows us the choropleth map over here, and it shows the data for the level below the one that you're viewing. So at the moment we are seeing South Africa, but the actual data we would be viewing over here would actually be for the provincial level. So for instance, if I go here to, let's just do voter turnout here, we can see now the provincial data in the data mapper. Whereas if we view the rich data, we see the data for the Zoom level that we're actually viewing. So this is South Africa, and there we see the voter turnout there for South Africa. So that's just something to always bear in mind, that if you're wanting to see data on the data mapper, you actually have to go one level up to see the data, but the rich data will always be the one that you're actually viewing at that stage. So now, for the elections, of course, the story kind of begins on ward level, as it's a local government election. So I'm going to zoom in here. I always choose Northern Cape because it's the biggest place to click on. So I'm going to go here to Mqawu district. And as you can see, now we can see the municipalities in the Mqawu district. And I'm going to go in here one further. And we can also see here David Kruiper, and we can see the wards for the David Kruiper municipality. The one thing also, of course, is that it also starts, the election starts at the voting station. So using the point mapper tool, we can actually see all the voting stations in the country. So I'm going to quickly go here to elections, and we can see here, we click on the voting stations. Takes a moment to load. It's a lot of voting stations. Here we can actually see all the voting stations in the country. Let me just quickly zoom out here. You can see all the voting stations in the country, and we can see some details about the voting stations as well. So if I go into, let's just quickly go into the Northern Cape here. For instance, some of these will be much bigger and some of them will be quite small. So if we look here at Sandkork, for instance, We click on here. This one only has registered voters, 48 registered voters over here, where, of course, if we would compare that to somewhere up in a metro, if we would, for instance, go up to Joburg here, we can see up here there is a metro. There's sort of in the metro, we can see here a voting station. All these will generally be quite big. But there are some that have up to 8,000 or more voters registered in that area. Let's quickly have a look at this one. This one we can actually see as a 1,076. Of course, none of them is as small. The smallest one would probably be this one. It is called the Tent at Quarry Hook Farm. And it is, I'll just find it. But that one is, in fact, only 2 registered voters at the tent at Quarry Hook Farm. So this one will probably be quite fast, and you can only hope that both voters turn up early so that the election official can go home. So it varies, but we can also see from this, of course, why some voting stations will report much earlier than others. So let us quickly go. Also, another thing we can see in the point mapper tool, which can also become, of course, very useful. I'm just going to go back up here to the province level. Actually, let's go to country level. We can hear one of the interesting point data that we have is for political violence and protests. And if we look at this, we can see it come up here, and we can even see specific ones. We can get details about specific events. I think, for instance, here is one that I saw earlier that is perhaps interesting to view, because this one, we can also see the details of the event, of the protest, and we can actually also see that this was a demonstration against dirty water supply in the region. So we can see how some of the data here might actually be quite relevant in the upcoming elections as well. So now, that is what we can perhaps see in the point mapper here, but we've also got other things like the location of libraries, police, etc. So those are things we can do with the point mapper tool. If we go back to the data mapper, I'm just going to turn off these over here. Right, and I'm going to quickly go back here to the data mapper. We have to just excuse me for a moment. Let's go back here. So if we go back to our data mapper and we go back to the Northern Cape, just give a moment to load here, and I'm going to go into the Makawa district where we were before. This panel out of the way so that I can go. Okay. And I'm going to go into here to the David Craper here. And because we know that the elections, the first thing is that the voting stations, the voting happens in the ward levels. We'll go down to a ward here. Now we know where the voting stations are. And we can actually get details about this ward. If we go into the rich data view, we can actually see for this ward, we can see currently who the incumbent councillor is. And we can also, very importantly, see who the candidates are for this upcoming election. We can also then, of course, look at the 2016 municipal elections. And here we get actually some more information, which is quite interesting to see. So we can see the number of registered voters by age in this specific ward, by gender, and also the ward votes won by the party. And
sorry, Dirk, is it possible for you to just zoom in a bit to make the text a little better?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Let me just quickly do that. No problem. I hope, is this a bit better? Let me just quickly have a look at that again. So yeah, we can actually see, so we have the incumbent councillor, we have the candidates, and we can also see registered voters by age, by gender, and also ward votes by party. And of course, as we've pointed out in previous demonstrations, we also have other information that and other data sets that will hugely impact the election. And these can be from the demographics to the financial performances of specific municipalities and wards. If we actually just go up one level to the municipality level here, now we can actually also use the data mapper and see the same information, but comparing different wards. So we can actually also look at number of registered voters by age. And we can see it, for instance, over here. And we can see in this case, if we're looking at a number of registered voters by age between 18 and 19, we can see the actual numbers in each ward of that age group. We can also see the genders. So we can see here 2,186 female voters in this ward. And we can see the ward votes by party. So for instance, here we can see that the EFF got quite a big share here, but did not perform so well in these other areas in this case. And this also extends, and we can also see the seats. Well, if we go up one level, we'll just go up here. Yeah, so we can also see a few of the data sets over here, including the voter details, registration details, but we also can get a clearer picture of the issues surrounding municipality and what the people living there are concerned about. So this would be financial performance. We can see quite a lot here about that, as well as the education levels and service delivery. And a lot of this also becomes quite clear when we look into the rich data view over here. So it's a case of being able to switch between these views and being able to see different data sets for that specific ward or municipality, district, metro, or even provincial. There are some data sets that we are continuously adding to this at the moment, ones that aren't in the live system at the moment, but will be later this week, is we will also have, we've got the councillor elected for this ward in the 2016 election. This might be slightly different from the incumbent, as that might have changed, but also very importantly, we've got the proportional representation votes by party, or the PR votes. That is something we are going to be making live soon as well. And something which is quite nice is to be able to see the actual votes by candidate, including independent councillors as well, independent candidates. So those are things that we are going to be adding. So at the moment, we've got all these kind of data sets that we've got currently available for elections, and we will be adding more of these onto the 2021 as they become available. And we will probably, I'll be sending this out and sharing this, and we will stay up to date on what is available at what possible time. I think that's a brief overview of the dashboard.
Super. Thanks so much, Dirk. And I want to encourage everybody who's got any questions about what Dirk just presented to please drop them in the chat. We will have time if you've got a specific question about this right now. And we do have one from Bongani asking, is this data search available for one to observe?
Is this data search available for one to observe? Can you just clarify that more, Bongani, what the question is? You mean for download?
I'm wondering if I can actually, I'm going to actually ask Bongani. I'm going to give Bongani a permission to talk. If you see that there, Bongani, you just need to.
Sorry, may I just say something? So Dirk was going in through the map, but right on the top of the tool, you can actually search for a municipality as well.
Oh, that's right.
That is another way to do it.
Absolutely. I did kind of do it once there. Let me quickly, actually, I can just demonstrate that again. So what we can do, can you see the screen here?
Yes.
So we can, for instance, using the search up here, you can go down to actual ward levels. You can use search here for ward levels, as well as municipalities, local districts, etc. That will take you immediately, if I just use this one, to that, in this case, this ward. So that is quite useful.
And if you don't know the word ward, you can search for the municipality. So one of the issues that I would like to point out is a lot of municipalities' names have changed. and there's no database that could be drawn off to when you search for an old name that you get the new name. The only solution is you need to Google what is the new name of such and such a municipality.
Yeah, sure. There's also one of the things that I think is also worth knowing is that we can also download data, the map data. There is a little download button here. So if we're actually viewing stuff on, for instance, the agenda here, then we can actually download the map as we see it as well. And you can even download the rich data as well by clicking this little save to print. And that will can save it as a PDF for you as well. So that can also be quite useful to collect data for different points.
Thanks, Dirk. That does look really useful. Bongani, I think you got your audio sorted there. Do you want to give us a little bit more detail in your question there?
Yes. How are you, comrades? No, my question was based on the data itself. Is it possible for one maybe have it, then we can able to observe, because it has a lot of information that we can able to observe and then be able to search some other things, because really it gives some proper guidance on other things that maybe some of us we are not aware of, and the information that is existing across, because the way he was doing the presentation, so he touched some of it, because I live in Sebokeng, in the Val, some in the area Val, Vanabale and other areas, so that's the areas that's next to me. So he touched on such things in such a way that we can be able to trace some things that are happening across the region that I'm living in. So my question was, is it possible to have it, then we can able to utilize it in the way that the presentation was unfolding? So that was my question.
Yes, so I mean, as we said before, so as I mentioned, the data is available, is downloadable in the map form and also in the rich data panel. If we also look at, I just quickly wanted to show you here. So again, although we kind of focused now on the election data, for every place there are other data sets also available. And I encourage everyone to have a look here. And these, of course, are the things that will be affecting the elections. So we've got the elections, but we also have access to the demographics of areas, and very interestingly on municipal level and so on, the financial performance. And this is also downloadable CSV, Excel and JSON format. And this can give you a very interesting oversight of the spending and also the debt collection, income sources, and the spending of the capital budget. So very in-depth data is available here for most municipalities on the map. Also the living environments from the census data, and all these will give you a much broader and better understanding of a specific ward or municipality. Some of it's important to note, a lot of the data is available at different Zoom levels. So some of the data, for instance, the spending is not going to make sense on a ward level, but it will be available on a municipal level. So it's always good to see on each level what is available at that point. And then, of course, you can export them, and you can also download, as we saw, the entire set as